Thanks very much for the introduction. I'm Adam Gordon. I've been in recruitment for 21 years, and I'm going to explain to you just a little bit about why, how I came to be building a tech company, and I'm then going to go into a little bit around what need we're fulfilling, because it might be interesting for you as business owners or founders or marketing directors, for example, to understand about people's behavior, because you're all either hiring or involved in a hiring process, and recruiters, candidates have changed their behavior considerably in the last 10 years, as you'd expect, with the amount of different options that are available to them in terms of how they build relationships with organizations. So in 2015, I was running a recruitment research business, and I was talking to one of my customers, Pfizer. And I said to them, how are we doing? Are you happy with the service you're getting from us? In the last month, we'd identified something like 2,000 names of people they might want to hire, including their CVs and their contact details and things like that. And they said, yeah, it's all going really well. 30% of the people you find for us are not already on our applicant tracking system. That's the database that they use for storing the details of previous applicants. And I said, sorry, say that again. 30. You said we're doing good, but then you said that 30% of the people are not already known to you. So that doesn't sound good to me. And they said, no, but the thing is, we've got 10 million people on there worldwide. I said, sorry, 10 million people. They said, yeah, that's the number of people that have applied, or we've got on our sort of CRM over the last 5 years or so. I said, so why are you using us to continue to identify people for you? Why are you advertising? Why are you using recruitment agencies? Why have you got a team of your own going onto LinkedIn to find people? And the reason for that was because they didn't know in real time which of those 10 million people were ready for a conversation about jobs or not ready at this point. So they didn't know who was active and who was passive. They didn't know who was what I call cold, warm, and hire ready. And as a result, every time a vacancy goes live, they needed to try and identify, go and find all the people again, and then reach out to them again. And it was just a constant addiction to net new candidates, even though they were contacting the same people maybe 20 times during their career. They might contact them and spend money on doing that. So I thought, this is really crazy. You need to be nurturing these people for the longer term so that you know in real time, you're keeping front of mind, but also so that you really understand which of these individuals is likely to be ready for a conversation. So we looked around at the technologies that existed to sort of support the concept of candidate nurture and building your own talent pipelines, and we couldn't find anything at all. So we went, wow, we need to build something here. We were familiar with marketing automation technologies like HubSpot and Pardo and technologies like that. And we effectively decided to create our own version of one of these technologies. We took a couple of years, being two co-founders from non-technology backgrounds. We did take a couple of years to work out how on earth to build a tech company. We did make a lot of mistakes. We kissed a lot of frogs. But by sort of mid to late 2017, we were on the right path, and we really knew what we were doing. So I'm happy to talk about that later. But firstly, I'm just going to show you a couple of slides which will just explain the concept of what it is we're trying to do. And if I've got a couple of minutes, I'll also show you just what our technology product looks like. So let me just see back here from current slide. So talent on tap is what we describe this as. What talent on tap means is you constantly have a warm bench of people who at any moment are going to be interested in working for your organization. So the biggest problem that we have today is that everybody's distracted. They're distracted with communication coming into them. They're addicted to the different sources of information they get. They end up taking their laptop to the toilet with them because they are running out of time to do all the things they need to do. So in order to build relationships with people, you've got to serve them with really personalized experiences. And in order to do that at scale, you've got to use automation to do it. Otherwise, you're just not going to get through to people because they're already so distracted with the amount of other things they've got to do. Candidates' behavior, just like consumers' behavior, is totally unpredictable on the internet. We describe it as the flight of the bumblebee. A bumblebee's like flight path is really unpredictable. So they'll take a look at this, they'll take a look at something different, then something else will ping up and they'll go to that. So what you need to do is try and make sure that they are interacting with your content. And the best way to do that is to be as personalized as possible. That then allows you to go spear fishing instead of net fishing when the vacancy comes up. If we think about this in the context of, say, mainstream sales and marketing, you don't want to employ sales teams to pick up the phone book and go through A to Z trying to identify which individuals might want to buy something. You need much better clues than that so that those salespeople can go spearfishing and they know exactly where to focus their time and where to spend their time making contact with people and trying to get them, in a one-to-one conversation about your software or your services, your product, whatever it is you're selling. Think about it in the context of sales and marketing. The sales and marketing pipeline today on the B2B side is 100% marketing generated, with salespeople doing the close bit at the end. But if we put it into recruitment context, if you think about the work that, if you've got a recruiter in your team, or if you think about what recruitment agencies typically do, it's almost all sales generated, and that is really ineffective. And what I mean by sales generated is it's armies of individuals reaching out one-to-one to people. And that's a very, very spray and pray method and generating ever diminishing results. So we want to take a leaf in recruitment. We want to take a leaf out of the book of sophisticated B2B demand generation, where salespeople are really only talking to well-qualified leads. In recruitment, another thing that's important is to think about the relationships that we have with people throughout the lifetime of their careers. So from the moment they leave school or college or university to the point, or even before they've left college or school or university, we've got one customer is Mott MacDonald, the engineering consultancy, and they're absolutely nurturing people from the moment that they start thinking about engineering as a career, right through to the point that they retire. And even sometimes after that, through alumni communications, because these people might retire too early and want to come back. And that's what happens. But we're not doing that in recruitment. And that's what we really need to be doing, is nurturing relationships with people throughout their career. So what's changed in like a candidate journey? Back when I started in recruitment in 1999, a candidate could become independently aware of opportunities, but then they had to go through most of their decision making through from cold to warm to hire ready, or what in a typical sales funnel is awareness, interest, consideration. They would have to have done most of that journey one-to-one with a recruiter. On the today, however, those individuals can find out what it's like to work at your organization. They can see your CEO's LinkedIn profile. They can see your recruiter's LinkedIn profiles. They can see your people's Facebook pages and your company's Glassdoor reviews and things like that. So the recruiter should be spending their time down here at the hire ready phases and nurturing individuals through the funnel. The funnel dynamics have all totally changed. So we want to be able to see, who do you contact first? And this is what we're showing our customers. We're showing them that John opened an email from your team last week, but did nothing else, whereas Jane did all of these different activities. Clearly, Jane's much more likely to be ready for a conversation than John. So if you've got 50 program managers in your talent pipeline, you want to be able to see all the Janes up at the top. They're the people who this week are likely to be ready for a conversation, and you'll save considerable amounts of time on getting to shortlist. We also think about the concept of regular hires versus irregular hires. So for those regular hires, you want to be nurturing them. You're constantly hiring sales execs. You're constantly hiring software engineers. Nurture them. Create programs to nurture them. You don't want to be spending your time cold calling because a vacancy's come up and you haven't done anything to nurture warm up that bench. Irregular hires, you probably do the way you would normally do recruitment, and that is go and identify the people on LinkedIn, or use a recruitment agency, or do an advert or something like that. And you can do that as a one-off. But in most companies, at least 50% of their hires are what I would call regular hires. So they're at least 5 times a year you're hiring the same types of people. We also want to think about the total addressable market. Who's everybody? Let's take Edinburgh, for example. You can identify every product manager who's working in technology in Edinburgh. They're almost all on LinkedIn. And if they're not on LinkedIn, you'll be able to find them on Facebook and other places. So you probably can. There will be almost no product managers in tech or in SaaS who don't have a digital footprint that you can go and identify. Go and identify all of them and then start nurturing them. The concept of talent pipelines is, it's not a list of individuals. It's not a list of names. It's a genuine pipeline where you know who's cold, warm, and hire ready, like a sales pipeline. There's actually no difference between sales and recruitment in terms of the pipelining approach. In fact, there's also no difference in investment as well. You're trying to identify the right investors or VC firms, for example, who might be interested in you. It's exactly the same. Identify everybody, do something to create awareness, to create some kind of goodwill, then take it down the funnel into one-to-one. Something else I want to just mention, because this is really important in recruitment, is the concept of talent communities. And Specsavers, as an example, does this really, really well. In this screenshot here, you can't really see Specsavers anywhere. In fact, I can't see Specsavers anywhere. But this is an online community called Green Club. It's a login community. They're constantly hiring optometrists. And within Green Club, they're sharing skills and information for people who might want to, or who are working as optometrists, to help them to really understand the skills they need and to get better at all that kind of thing. So if I'm in Edinburgh and I'm constantly hiring software engineers, building communities for software engineers is something that's really worthwhile doing, using your CTO as the leader for that community, hosting meetups, things like that. Talent brand, this is about using your CEO, your founders, the leaders in your business to attract other people. So in this example, Sally Abbott's the managing director for the UK at Weetabix, and her LinkedIn profile says exactly why she loves working for the company. I bet if you go and look at the leaders in your business, almost none of them are using their LinkedIn profiles as a way of attracting potential candidates to the business. It's a really valuable thing to do. And this is just a very simple example. There's multiple more sophisticated ways to do it, but just starting with making sure your LinkedIn profile is attracting people into your talent pipelines is good. A little bit more specific, and when you're nurturing people in the same way that you're doing in sales, you'd have content which is specific to people at different stages. So we think about it in terms of cold, warm, and hire ready. The content for those who are cold is things like industry insights, skills, career advice. It's nothing about working for your company. But then for those who are warm, it's a bit more about actually, what's our employer brand like? What's the main reason people would want to come and work for us? And then for those who are hire ready, for smaller organizations, fast growing organizations, you want to get them in for a conversation straight away. You want to have a one-to-one with them about their career aspirations, and then match that with what you've got coming up as an organization. In terms of the way that our customers use Candidate ID, they're using it to monitor the signals from each individual about whether they're ready for a career conversation or not. And so they would track activity on this kind of scoring model. It's a sort of balanced scorecard. Down at the bottom, you can see if somebody opens an email, it scores 1 point. If they watch a video, it'll score 5 points. Then down the left-hand side, this is subjects. If somebody's looking at skills for data scientists, scores 1 point. They look at the job description on your website, that's going to score 10 points, and send an alert to your HR manager to tell them that candidate should get some communication right now for a one-to-one conversation. I'm going to show you some of the types of workflows that you can build within Candidate ID, and this is really the most exciting part of the product that we've created. It's all about marketing workflows which are serving you with hot leads to tell you which people are likely to be ready for a conversation, as well as moving people from one talent pipeline into a different talent pipeline, from one communication workflow into another, based on what they're actually doing. So let's take a look at a couple of sort of simple things. Now, this, if you're not familiar with marketing automation as a concept, then this will be useful for your sort of sales prospecting as well, this type of way of doing things. So in this workflow, if the person opened an email, then they get 1 point. If they then look to your website, they get 5 points. If the person, they all get an email, and then if they do not open the email, 2 days later, they get a text message, and that text message will deliver 23% more clicks. If they then look at the job description, but they do not apply for the job, then your recruiter or your HR person will get an alert to say, go and talk to Neil McAvoy because he's clearly interested in working for the company, but hasn't actually clicked apply yet. A couple of other examples, things, progressive profiling, asking people questions in the same way that YouTube does. When you watch a video, you go on to the next video and it says, which brand of shaving foam or which brand of cereal or whatever it is have you seen advertising recently, and you've got to select the ones. This is progressive profiling, finding out more about people so that your search within your database is more specific. So swipe right to confirm machine learning skills, automatically they move into the machine learning campaign. Other examples of automations you might put in here, somebody does a job search on your website, they automatically move from the warm to the hire ready phase. And your recruiter or HR team gets an alert to tell them the person's done that. And then you can do much more sophisticated, longer term sort of programs with multiple different workflows. So let me just show you a couple of examples of the types of content that our customers send out using Candidate ID. So this is a Swedish-based tech company. This is an example of a landing page, which has got different calls to action within here. This is an example of the kind of email that they would send out using Candidate ID with something about Ada Lovelace, who my family thinks, we think we've worked out we're related to. That's Lord Byron's daughter, so she's at least half Scottish, Ada Lovelace. She's well known in technology, as a lot of you will know. Other examples, yeah, events and things like that. Use containers in landing pages to make it really easy to put content in. Using simple forms, fill in this form, what's your name and email address in order to access this video or white paper or whatever else kind of content it is. So I'll just show you a bit about what Candidate ID looks like. So the first thing I'll do is I'll go onto my dashboard and then I'll select the pipelines I want to take a look at. So let's take a look at my developers. I've got 34 who are cold, 51 who are warm, 47 who are hire ready. And then we've got segments, which allow you to filter your pipelines a bit more specifically. I'm going into my hire ready developers, filter them by the engagement score, and I can get to this person's up at the top on 92 points. There are no other recruitment technologies that get you to your hire ready candidates in 2 clicks. This is one of the big USPs about Candidate ID. There is currently no other marketing automation products aimed at the talent acquisition space. So I've got some summary information about this candidate in here, and then a bit further down, I can see the content that she's been interacting with. So I know what to say when I make contact. A lot of the other features within here are kind of like CRM. You can send them an email, send them a text message, store their CVs and other documents and things like that in here. We have a really exciting new module called Source and Match. This allows us to go and identify from nearly 200 different job boards all the people that we can parse straight into Candidate ID. So let's say I'm looking for a software engineer, and then in Edinburgh, EH41QX, I think think that's an Edinburgh postcode. Search the job board, and this has brought up software engineers in Edinburgh. I can now select all of these individuals, choose my developer pipeline, my Edinburgh segment, candidate owner is me, and then I can click save, and that will parse those 100 records into candidate ID and automatically send them out a campaign to let them know that we're hiring and we want to talk to them. The most exciting part of candidate ID really is the marketing workflows. So within my campaign builder, I've got 32 different actions and decisions, which allows me to build 3.86 stillion different marketing workflow variations, which are like the ones that I showed you earlier. The landing page builder, of course, our customers are often HR teams rather than marketing teams. So we've had to make this simple to use for non-digital marketers, effectively. But if you take this landing page as an example, it's very, very simple for me to just go and change this now. So I want to add some text in here. I just drop it, and then I can type it in here, whatever I want to say. I want to add in a video, just drop it in here, add the URL for that video. I want to get rid of that video that was in here previously, just delete that one. I want to add in an image. We've got video, we've got image libraries. I can go and select from within my my own library or within the free image libraries that we can access in here. So I've now gone and made all the enhancements to this landing page. Of course, I've not. I've just turned it into a dog's dinner, but you get my point. And then I go into my campaign builder, and as I say, within here, I've got my different workflows. Here's a campaign that I just built a couple of minutes ago to show an organization in South Africa who's considering candidate ID. So this is what it looks like. You'll be familiar from the screenshots I showed you with this type of way that it looks. So I just click on here and I've got my different actions, send them an email, send them a text message, send the recruiter an email, all this kind of thing. And then decisions, that creates the automation. Did they open the email? Did they visit the URL? Did they click on the content asset? Did they click on the form? So I hope this has been interesting. I've tried to cover a few different things here. I've tried to cover a bit about kind of what the background to why we decided to create this product, a bit about what it does and the challenges that it addresses. And also I've tried to include a little bit of behind the scenes or sort of deep focus on recruitment and what's different today compared to say 5 years or even 10 years ago around the way that candidates operate and some of the techniques and things you need to be thinking about if you want to build really great talent pipelines, you want talent on tap.